Everyone's worst fear appears to have come true here as Tyrese Haliburton was injured early here in Game 7, going down with what looked to be a pretty serious injury to that right lower extremity. Welcome back, everybody. I'm Dr. Brian Sutterer, and the goal in this channel is to teach you more about the medical side of the sports world. Now, I think by now most people have probably seen this replay, and unfortunately, when we look at this replay here, I want you to pay attention to a few different things as we talk about the injury concern here for Haliburton. Now, number one, here in this position, of course, as Haliburton is going to move and push off, we're going to see how he steps backwards with that right leg, and then as he goes right here. So this position, his ankle is dorsiflexed. So if we look at the angle of his tibia to the foot is pulled up towards the shin. That's a dorsiflexed position for the ankle. What that's going to do as he steps backwards is it's going to tension. It's going to pull on the whole complex from the gastroc down to the Achilles. As he then goes to suddenly push forward, you're introducing this strong concentric contraction of the muscle while it's trying to eccentrically load as you go backwards to sort of stabilize, build up some of that strength to explode off of. And then unfortunately, as he goes forward, we can see him immediately go down to the court right away. And then the most concerning thing, of course, from this angle here, as he goes to push right there, we see that classic recoil of, unfortunately, what I imagine is an Achilles rupture. Next, we'll talk about our anatomy model and just the whole concern with, what we saw with Kevin Durant now, this one. But first, I want to give a quick shout out to the sponsor of today's video. Today's video is sponsored by Omnilux. Omnilux is a world leader in medical grade LED light devices for skincare that makes a mask exclusively designed for men. Think of this like a performance upgrade for your skin. Omnilux is FDA cleared to help boost your skin, and their men's mask is designed specifically to get better penetration for men's thicker skin. It's a pain-free, mess-free, and non-invasive way to take care of your skin that's going to be far simpler than messing with a bunch of different creams, powders, and lotions. Right now, if you click the link down in the description or scan the QR code on screen, Omnilux is going to hook you up with 10% off your purchase. All it takes is 3 to 5 10-minute sessions per week for 4 to 6 weeks, and then regular maintenance use as desired. It's not just women that can benefit from this LED therapy for their skin. It's going to help reduce fine lines and wrinkles, help boost collagen production, and overall just be a nice performance upgrade for your skincare. So men, take advantage of this great opportunity to really boost your skincare performance by clicking the link down below or scanning the QR code to get 10% off your Omnilux men's LED light mask. Thanks again to Omnilux for sponsoring today's video, and let's get back to our learning. So let's go to our biodigital anatomy tool here, just in case this is your first time looking at these Achilles tendon injuries. So the gastrocnemius is going to be the muscle here, and then there's a medial, and there's going to be a lateral head of the gastrocnemius. So two muscle heads of the gastrocnemius come down into the myotendinous junction of the Achilles, and then you're going to have the Achilles tendon proper going down lower. Now there's another muscle called the soleus that comes up from the underside of the calf and then feeds into the Achilles tendon from that deep side. And then you're also going to have something called the plantaris. It's this real thin little muscle, very long skinny tendon that comes down and follows alongside the Achilles tendon to insert on the calcaneus. Remember that initial position where Haliburton's ankle was dorsiflexed up, that's going to put tension on that Achilles. It's going to eccentrically load that Achilles, and then you violently contract. That's where the Achilles is going to be at its weak spot and where we're going to see those ruptures occur. So if we go back to that play, we look at that recoil. Here in this position, he's eccentrically loaded, heel down on the ground, maximal dorsiflexion, and then as he goes to push off, we see that recoil with the calf going upwards. So let's just talk about this overall big story, right? Of course, we saw something like this with Kevin Durant a few years ago. He's dealing with what the team is calling a calf strain, and then we see him rupture his Achilles. This now, of course, I don't think we've seen official confirmation yet, but obviously that has to be the concern here with that recoil that we saw. Now, the second time where we're seeing a player dealing with this calf injury, and I think the big overwhelming point here is we have to understand that these guys going out and playing is not without risk. The team can say all they want about he's going to be fine, it's no big deal, he's going to push through, it's not going to be a big deal. But that's not always the case. We can see where these things can happen. And now we've got an example of a second time injury that's resulted in this clear, serious, probably going to keep him out for all of next season. I think what's really hard to understand here with this is the team has been calling it a calf strain. I wonder if all along it was more of an Achilles strain that was being labeled as a calf strain, because if you think of this whole muscle tendon unit, anything in this could be considered calf strain, I guess. Remember way back when Shams was first reporting, I think after game 2, Haliburton said he was dealing with an ankle thing. You don't describe a muscle in the calf as an ankle thing. I really do wonder if what was going on all along was more of an Achilles tendon strain that was just being presented to us as a calf strain potentially, because again, if you're dealing with a true strain in the muscle is going to be the weak point in this whole system. If something's going to fail, it's going to be that muscle up here that's going to fail, as opposed to the tendon failing down lower. The weakest point in that chain is going to get injured. Now, I think with Haliburton here, right, we still hold out some hope that maybe some of that recoil we were seeing was just the muscle, but I really don't think so. I think we have to be assuming here that this is a full Achilles rupture because of that recoil. I think best case scenario, we're just dealing with a serious worsening muscle strain, but I've not seen a muscle strain recoil like that. So I think this has to lead to a much change in the narrative going forward. Whenever we hear from these teams and they say, the injury is this, the injury is that, it can't get worse, it's just some simple minor thing, no big deal. Be aware that number one, we don't always have the full story. We don't always know exactly where in that whole muscle tendon complex is the injury. We don't know if it's tendon. We don't know if it's myotendinous junction, if it's truly muscle like they're implying it to be. But we have to take everything that we're hearing from these teams with a grain of salt and also realize that they're going to try and paint a positive picture as best as possible. They're not going to say in this situation, Haliburton is seriously injured, there's a big risk if he goes out and plays, because that sounds unsafe. So I think, maybe lightning struck twice here in terms of what we saw with Durant and what we're seeing now with Haliburton. But I hope this makes everybody have a different understanding of when guys are trying to play through injuries and understanding that there's usually more to the injury that we don't know. I am absolutely gutted for Haliburton. I grew up in Indiana. Indiana is definitely like my home state, and so this has been terrible to see. I wanted to see the Pacers win. And I hope that, number one, we're all wrong. I hope this isn't a rupture. I hope we're just seeing something unusual with the replay. But I think that's what we have to assume, and I hope that it really starts to change this narrative about what injury risk people have going into certain situations and how we need to be presenting all this stuff to the public and the fans going forward. That's it for the video, everybody. Let me know, as always, any questions or comments down below. And until next time, I'll see you later.